And we are back to GameSpot's live stage show here at E3 2010 for the last live demo of the day. Now, if you guys are familiar with E3's past and GameSpot's coverage, you know we always save the last slot of the show for something big. What better way to do it than with the game that made such a splash at the press conferences on Monday, Watch Dogs. I got with me Dominic and Jonathan from Ubisoft Montreal. Have been quite a few days for you.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, we were hoping for the best. We've been working on this for over 3 years now, but the reception's exceptional. We're super stoked.
And such a dramatic way to reveal it at the end of the press conference, and you just had people enthralled. I noticed Jonathan is sporting our Best of E3 2012 winner. You guys are one of GameSpot's award winners. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're here to take a look at this gameplay you showed off during the conference. It's going to end a little bit differently, but we're going to sort of delve into the gameplay mechanics and talk about Watch Dogs. Cool. So without further ado, let's get that rolling and set the tone for folks who maybe didn't get a chance to catch the end of the press conference, because this was preceded by sort of a lengthy world-building explanation.
Yep.
What's the world like?
Well, basically, like Watch Dogs is a game that focuses a lot on hyperconnectivity, right? So we're playing Aiden Pierce, and what's interesting through his eyes is that he looks at his surrounding in a different way. Like, he's able to tap into what we call the CTOS, which is basically an OS that drives all of Chicago's system. So he's able to look at everybody through their digital shadow. Like, if there's someone walking around on the street, if there's a target anywhere, he can use the camera, the security camera, to actually look at that, get into their lives. So we go a bit beyond this concept of citizen like walking in front of sideways, and we get more like on sidewalks, and we get more into their heads. So it's more about exploring space and the people around it. And
getting information about people around you that you really shouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly.
But that allows you to move through your world in a different way and interact with it in a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's basically invasion of privacy on a grand scale, and what can you do with all that power? With all that information, what kind of power does that give you?
What can you do in 2017 when this is your reality?
Well, I mean, for us, it's happening today. Most of my personal life's on my smartphone. I don't know for you, and my money's on a virtual bank account, and I'm living in a city where the traffic system, electricity, surveillance, all of that is run by computers. So in the hands of Aiden, he's basically able to tap into all of it and control it.
And so here we see him approaching. He's trying to find out information about a target, or is he trying to surveil him, or trying to do something a little more active?
Well, basically, Aiden Pierce is trying to enter the Dot Connection exhibit, which is an interactive art exhibit driven and financed by Joseph DeMarco. So he needs to get inside to attract DeMarco into the event, get attention from people, so that when he shows up and think that he's going to surprise Aiden Pierce, it's pretty much the opposite. He's going to caught him and his guys off guard to have a little surprise for him.
And I'm guessing he's not the kind of guy who waits in a line to get into a place he wants to go.
No, he doesn't. Like, he could have took the guns or anything in his power to actually be really violent about it, but I think it's just smarter, like for that demo, to just show that you can sneak in pretty relaxed, not get anybody to panic, but at the same time get the proper persons to notice your presence.
Yeah, you just set a mild panic among people as their smartphones stop working, as would happen on the show floor.
Yeah, and the important thing to note here is you can use that anywhere. It's not like, a key to open a door. It's something that you can use anywhere, and it's going to change the behavior of people who depend on connection. So you can experiment it in the city and see different ways you can use it.
And so here we are inside of the club, and there's a bunch of different prompts popping up. We see a hack prompt on the security camera and these little icons above people. What information is that communicating to the player?
Well, basically, like any devices that is active can be hacked. So if someone is using a phone, a laptop, or anything like that, he can just press a simple button to tap into the system and get more information out of it. So that's one of the ways the player can consult what's going on into an area, learn more about his enemies, or simply be curious about what people are talking about in Chicago.
Now, we're seeing crop up in the chat a bunch of speculation about PC, Xbox 360, this generation, that generation. I think that what that speaks to is this game, the sort of visual fidelity and the look you guys have here is stunning a lot of people.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was definitely one of our goals.
Yeah, clearly, and you've achieved it. you guys are definitely going for a realistic look, but you're also, this is Chicago, iconically Chicago, but you're sort of giving it that futuristic feel.
Well, I mean, we're trying to be as close to Chicago as we can to serve the game. So here he's going into an exhibit that's kind of edgy, so that's why you get that feeling, right? There's other districts of our Chicagos that are not as edgy as
Brick
this one.
buildings, sub
yeah,
joints,
exactly.
yeah.
So you can expect a pretty realistic Chicago. We want you to feel like you're really in a real city. You're immersed in a real city. That reacts to your action like you'd expect.
And now we're talking to one of your contacts here, so he's sort of, was the mission to find this guy, or did you just kind of come across this guy and you're like, oh, hey, interesting.
You set a meeting with him to basically meet him at this place. Like the one thing that you notice in that part of the demo is we're trying to make sure that when you meet someone, there was gameplay to get there. It's not like you go to a place, you have a cinematic, then you go to another place, and then there's a mission. So you need challenges to get to the people you talk to. So it's more like the other way around. So you have a better flow, like at the story mixed with gameplay objective.
So we have a question coming in from RK31, and I think this sort of plays into what you're talking about, you know, ways to, in between sort of mission points, yeah, there's gameplay, and there's freedom to sort of go different ways. How much freedom do you have in terms of completion of the mission? Like, do all missions, you know, this mission to find out about DeMarco, is this going to be completed one way as Mary Blass, you know, she's the only one you can, she's the assistant, so you talk to her, but in terms of entering the club, there were other ways to go about that.
Absolutely. I think we're really focusing on expression for the players here. I mean, the player already have like vehicles, guns, like navigations to go through, and he can combine all of his technology and his access to the city and the control he have on the city as well. So there's many ways to do things around, and that's part of the DNA of what Watch Dogs is all about. So we're really careful to make sure that not only your objective feels different and feels new, but the way to approach them are very broad.
And speaking of the sort of breadth, Hans Gruber Jr. wants to know how big a version of Chicago have you guys created for Watch Dogs?
We haven't logged the numbers. To be honest, we're still building the city, so we don't want to give a number. We're still tweaking it. But one thing that we're committed to is our vehicles are going very fast. I mean, they can go up to 180 miles an hour. So it's going to require a certain size of city to support. So
yes.
You know, that's what I can
If you
see.
want to drive recklessly, you need room to do it.
Yeah, so it's going to be large enough. No worries there.
And of course, weather effects coming in here. This rain looking gorgeous. Oh man, it looks really good. Talon Taylor is wondering about stealth aspect, and so obviously you've been pretty stealthy. Like no one's been in your face. Like, hey, you don't belong here. So I guess to interpret that question, what is there a non-stealth aspect? I mean, this is loud certainly, but you're also not drawing attention to yourself yet.
Yeah, like I think it's up to the player to decide how you approach things from that perspective as well. Stealth, I think, is an open world game today. Is fundamental in the sense that to make a city that makes sense with people that are dangerous, you need to be able to have that option. But when you go berserk like there, using the guns and everything, it needs to feel real at the same time. So if you want to have like a very believable shootout in a city, you need to also have a very believable approach to it, or else the AI feels a bit dumb. So stealth is there to make sure that we're elegantly going from non-action to action. And if the players are good at stealth and want to do it, they're going to make easier situations for themselves. If they like to have hard situation, they can provoke them easily.
And I think that it's clear you've put a lot of work into the gunplay, because the percussive gunshot there is just something that seemed to be really lovingly crafted and almost an incentive to get loud in itself.
Yeah, we're trying to make it as visceral as we possibly can. We've been a bit obsessed with making just shooting a bullet at nothing fun. That's kind of the idea. So we just stand in front of a wall and we shoot a bullet. It needs to feel good. It needs to be fun just doing that.
Load up a version of the game and take pot shots at the L going by. Question about, again, sort of people wondering about the stealth and flexibility. This situation got gun shooty. Could you play through, is there a way to accomplish this goal in full stealth or without getting this violent?
I think full stealth would be interestingly difficult, but I mean, there's plenty of ways to do it. Like here's an example using tool that we've already talked about in a demo. Imagine that you open a drawbridge, and then it just caused the people to wait there, including the Marco. And you're further away when you're doing it. You do it through a camera, security camera to do that. Then you use a sniper rifle with a silencer and you kill everybody and you're done. So that would be a way where nobody would know that what it with them, right? Like, so it's all about expression for the player. So as he's going to go through the game, he's going to progressively get control over way more system and the entire city, but also he's going to be able to acquire all different kinds of weapons to express himself like properly.
Wow. So we've got a pistol here. You're talking about a silenced sniper rifle. Are there any more futuristic kind of gadgets or weapon, or are you still sort of focusing on the, this could be your world today?
No, yeah,
kind of thing?
We're really bounding ourselves to what's possible, and trust me, there's enough possible that we have plenty of ideas. So we're really looking at real-world references. So I mean, like, Tom Clancy games are about the technologies of tomorrow. We're about the technology that we know today. So, smartphones, security systems, traffic systems, that's where we're going. More stuff that we can understand and make plans with.
User, you made something, my name is really too long for Chris to read on the air. Can you tell us a little bit more about the character of Aiden Pierce?
Yeah, Aiden Pierce is a man shaped by violence. So basically what that means when we say that is he's a man that he saw his surrounding suffer because of some activity that he's doing that sometimes are questionable. That kind of broke him a little bit. Now he's obsessed with protection and surveillance to make sure that never happens again. While not going into detail of the narrative, the player through the eye of Aiden Pierce is going to have to push this obsession a little bit to the out-of-control zone. So it starts with a guy who monitors his own family without them knowing, which is already a bit weird. When he starts failing at that quest, he's going to start basically going out of the board and monitoring districts and monitoring everybody and start confusing potentially his own drama with the drama of everybody else that he encounters. So he's an interesting anti-hero that has to put justice into his own end. And that's one thing that's very important for us, is to make sure that we stay in the gray zone, not only with Aiden Pierce, but with all the characters that we encounter in the city, to remain more true and more human with the experience of Watch Dogs.
And it sounds like, you made mention of the justice system here, but we, in that art gallery opening, had a conversation with what appears to be kind of a shady character. So are you going to be sort of infiltrating in at sort of strata of society?
Yeah, and we want to bring in some different factions and some different types of opposition that we're used to. I mean, we've all seen the mafia guy 100 times, so we want to bring in some oppositions that we're not quite used to dealing with, but people who are also maybe more difficult to deal with, people who have maybe more power in the city. So we're going to bring the players to some interesting places.
And along the way, how much sort of influence is the player going to have about the path that this narrative takes? Folks are curious about that, your choices and your actions, and obviously within a mission, your action to go stealthy or loud, those have consequences within that mission. But then, what about the greater choices and the greater paths that you take?
Yeah.
There's definitely impact into how the player plays the game. That's inevitable. We have to do that. If you're in the streets and you cause mayhem, if there's people behind the car when you cause accident, if there's someone in the car when you take cover behind of him, poor guy, you might receive a bullet in the head. So all of those things, people are taking pictures around. The media are learning about those things. And eventually the population watch the media will say about Aiden Pierce the same way people watch us right now. Hopefully they're not going to say the same thing they're going to say about Aiden Pierce. That would be a bit weird. But in the end, it's really about bringing the player to feel that difference. It's not being good or being bad. It's more having a different perception of Aiden Pierce based on how you play. That involves also how you're going to perceive the story afterwards. Does it mean having drenching narrative and all of that? We're not really going in that direction. We feel it's more natural if the player feels that everything are adjusting to him in an organic way, and when he finishes the game, he's going to have his own perception of how the game was for him.
And one thing that having all that information gives you is a lot of opportunities for distraction, if you want. So a lot of side missions, you're going to find side missions, side opportunities through the information you gather from the city. And what we realize when we start testing the game is people set their own objectives. They basically, if you see someone and you see has, I don't know, some despicable hobby. Maybe, I don't know, he's dealing in human traffic. I'll take something extreme. Maybe you don't agree with that. You want to deal with that. So we don't need to pop you an objective. You have the information on his background. You have a gun. You decide what you want to do, and the city is going to react to that.
And it's going to respond likely. And that ties into a phrase that a lot of people have been repeating in the chat, open world. And sort of the phrase side mission implies that there's going to be some point you're going to be out in the world, and you're going to have a choice to go here, these missions, and so there will be some open world gameplay?
For sure. I mean, we're building a city where you can go on rooftops and alleyways and streets and interiors, but you can also explore the digital side of the city. So there's a lot of dimensions to explore, and there's never any loading. All of this is open. So we're really influenced by Assassin's Creed, that's built on the floor just above us, obviously. But we're also we also want to give the player a lot of opportunity to do side investigation in the city and do a lot of his own objectives in the city. So there's going to be plenty of that. But what we want to achieve is you can finish the game. You can focus on the main story if you want, but if you want to spend hundreds of hours in it, you can do that too.
Well, Dominic, Jonathan, you've certainly got people's interest peaked, and actually a fair amount of these questions are when can I give you my money? What bank account can I transfer funds into so you can get me this game? I'm sure you guys have a wide release window at this point, but tell us what it is.
Yeah, we're not shipping this year, that's for sure, and we're shipping when it's done. And I'll be honest, that's fantastic when your publisher gives you that luxury, because we want to polish this so it's perfect when we ship it. It's a new IP, it requires time, and we have time, so we're happy.
Absolutely. And as impatient as we can be, I think gamers really appreciate when developers have time to make the game they want to make and get it to a place that they want to get it to. Because that just ends up being better for all involved.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, wonderful. Watch Dogs, great showing here at E3, and the perfect way to close out GameSpot's stage show at E3 2012. Dominic, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. All right, folks, that'll do it for live game demos, but our show is not quite over yet. We're going to take a quick tour around the GameSpot booth, just in case you've only seen this wonderful desk and these tire swing chairs today. And then we'll be back for a quick wrap-up with some of the GameSpot staffers who have been holding it down here at E3 2012.